Welcome to the Vision Driven Basketball Training Podcast. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Whether you're listening to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or you're watching on YouTube, I appreciate every single one of you guys. Today, answering a question that I got in a DM. Like I always say, guys, I'm always answering questions from my DMs. That's honestly when I don't have an idea of what my topic's going to be for the week. A lot of times it's just me going through my DMs and seeing, kind of what questions. And that's usually where I'll find something. So shout out to you guys who are always asking me questions. Today's question is a really, really good one, and it comes from my guy Aaron. So shout out to Aaron. He asked, "Hey coach, I have a question about school/basketball. The thing is, I have a lot of schoolwork and stuff I have to get done, but I also want to practice basketball every day. So my first question is, how can I balance school and basketball? Should my priority be school or basketball? Then we come to my second question, and it's something to do with the first one. See, because my schoolwork takes my free time, I decided to wake up before school at 6 a.m. and work out before. I did this so I could get an advantage over others, but mostly because I wanted to catch up with lots of my own skill work. But usually I get to bed at 10 o'clock and fall asleep at 11, and I'm told that I need 8 to 10 hours of sleep. So my question is, should I sacrifice 2 to 3 hours of sleep or 1 to 2 hours of basketball? Much love and keep up the great work." So this is a really, really good question. It is a topic that actually I get a good amount of questions on, just kind of balancing school and basketball and all those things. And I think it's an important topic to really be able to dive into a little bit, so we're all kind of clear and you guys have kind of a good baseline of how to kind of handle this. I think two really good questions right there. The first thing is, we'll go back to the first point, which is about sleep. And I think sleep is such a major thing, and this is also going to kind of tie in with time management, which is going to be kind of a big theme of today's episode as well. But if you're going to bed, so in Aaron's situation, you're going to bed at 11, right? And you got to wake up at 6. That would mean if you're asleep by 11, you're up at 6. That's about 7 hours right there. And depending on where you get your information from, you're going to hear people say, "Oh, you need between 7 to 9 hours of sleep, or 8 to 10 hours." Somewhere in that range is typically where people say you're good. So if you're able to consistently hit that schedule, then your sleep schedule is probably fine. The one thing I will say is that I understand not every day is going to be perfect. There's going to be some days where you might not get to bed till midnight, right? And you're still getting up at 6 or maybe even later than that. So at that point, it becomes about being able to kind of map out your days. So, for example, let's say that you say on Thursday night you don't get to bed till midnight and you wake up at 6, so it's only 6 hours right there. You want to try and make sure that you can make that up on the back end of the week. So, for example, let's say on that Thursday night you don't get to bed till 12:30. Okay, so you only have 5.5 hours of sleep when you get up. You want to try and get an extra hour or so over the weekend. So, if you're only sleeping, between 6 and 7 hours a day, Monday through Friday, when you get to the weekend, try your best to get 9 or 10, right? Just so you can kind of catch up on the back end of your week. That being said, what I'm not advocating for is I'm not saying that you can, sleep for 3 hours a night the whole entire week and then sleep for 15 hours on Saturday night. That's not what I'm advocating for. What I'm saying is that, if you lose an hour here or there, try and make it up at some point during the week. And I think that in itself is going to help you. And you'll be able to, for the most part, stay on track, because sleep is so important. And it's not just about like, oh, you got to sleep, because here's the thing, if you only sleep for 5 hours a night, eventually your body is going to adjust. The human body is fantastic at adjusting to things. So eventually you'll adjust and you won't feel tired anymore. Okay. If you're used to sleeping only 5 hours a night, especially if you throw in like, caffeine or coffee or anything like that in the morning when you get up, which hopefully you aren't doing, but maybe that's what you do. Nothing against coffee necessarily, but if you're using it because you only sleep for 4 or 5 hours a night, that's a problem then. Okay. But, so if that's the case, if you're sleeping 5 hours a night over a long period of time, you're going to start to get used to it. Your body's going to feel semi-normal. But the one thing that I'll say is that, your body might feel normal, but it does not mean that you're actually going to be performing at your most optimal level. Okay. What I mean by that is that, you might feel like you're pretty close to 100%, but your body's probably only performing at like 70%. Okay. In terms of your workouts. So like, are you really getting the most out of your workouts? It all goes back to really how are you recovering? How's your sleep? Are you priming your body to be at its best? And, kind of going along with that also, and we're moving farther into closer to the season. So we can kind of bring this up, but making sure you don't get sick. You're able to overcome getting sick especially during the season. I remember in high school, my junior year and my senior year, I was basically sick. My junior year, I was sick for like the entire last 2 months of the season. And my senior year, I was basically sick the entire year. My junior year was so bad that I actually missed probably a week and a half of games and practice because I was sick. Senior year, I didn't miss any games or any practices, but I was still sick the whole time. And a lot of that was because, I didn't do a good enough job getting sleep. Okay. So, practice is at, 3:30, go till 5:30, and I'm getting to school at 8. I got to wake up at 6:30, get everything done, go through school, practice till 5:30. Maybe I have something else I have to do after school until 6:30, get home at 7, take a shower, eat. Now all of a sudden we're approaching 8:30, and so at this point, like, I have to make sure, like, oh, now I have an hour and a half of homework to do. So if I am distracted at all, and maybe there's an NBA game on that I want to watch or a football game that I want to watch, and all of a sudden it's next thing I know, I look up and it's midnight. I got to be up at 6:30, so I'm already going to be in kind of a deficit going off of that. So I probably won't be able to be at my peak, at my best performance level, and that's going to leave me susceptible to getting sick. Okay, and that was something that I didn't do a great job of. Then looking back, making sure that I made time to get in 7, 8, 9, 10 hours of sleep a night, if at all possible. And so that again kind of leads to the point of how important sleep is. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're making time for that. So that was kind of my thing to him. It's like, listen, if you're getting that 7 hours of sleep a night, you're probably solid, but do your best to kind of still get a little extra on the weekends if you can. But we can kind of go into the next question from there, and that's kind of his first question, which was school, basketball, which is my priority, right? And the cliche answer, right, is like, oh, school, academics, like that comes first, that's the most important thing. And I'm going to tell you why that is true, like why it is true that school has to be the priority. Another theme that we can think about throughout this episode is you have to do the things that you don't want to do, right? You have to take care of the things that you have to do so that you can do the things that you want to do. You have to take care of those things that you have to do. You might not want to do them, but you have to do them so that you can do the things that you do want to do, right? You have to go to school, okay? You have to get sleep. You want to play basketball. You don't have to play basketball, okay? So take care of those things that you have to do. And being a coach and obviously as a player is the same thing, but if you don't show up to school, then you can't play in the game. Okay, so it doesn't matter if your game is at 7 o'clock. If you don't go to school that day, you're not allowed to play, right? A lot of times if you go show up to school late, sometimes you won't even be able to play. And obviously grades too. If you're failing a bunch of classes, you're not gonna be able to play. Okay, so you have to take care of those things that you have to take care of so that you can do the things that you want to do. Okay, so that's part number one. Like, that's why school is the priority, because if you don't have that part, basketball doesn't exist. Okay, so there's that. But also you have to think about it goes kind of deeper than that, because it also is kind of a mindset you have to have. There was a podcast that I listened to with it was an interview with a college coach. I don't remember where this coach was from. Man, I wish I remembered his name. But it was a couple months ago I listened to this, and this is something that I've been saying for a little bit now when I heard it, ever since I heard him say that. But he basically said, if you have a 2.5 GPA, you don't care about basketball. That was what he said on the podcast, and that's what he tells his players. I believe he's a coach at a junior college, and he said, he's like, yeah, listen, like, if I tell my guys if they have a 2.5 GPA, they don't really care about basketball. And here's what I mean by that. Here's how I took it. First of all, if there's any questions surrounding your grades in terms of your eligibility to play, you don't care. Like, you just flat out, if you cared more, you'd take care of the things you have to do. You would take care of your schoolwork, you'd be responsible, you get it all done. But if you don't really care all that much, then you're going to be okay letting your grades kind of slip. If you fail a class, you're not going to be worried about it because it's not that big a deal, that big of a deal to you. Okay, so that's something to consider. But also, it's really a mindset too. If, let's say, for example, you're taking, you do the bare minimum, right? You do the bare minimum of school to get by. Okay, so you know what? I want to make sure that I'm getting all C's right now. If you have a 71 in your class, right? And let's say one day you have a game and you have an away game. It's 2 hours away. you're playing at 7, so you guys are leaving the school at 4. You get at school at 3:30. You gotta basically grab something to eat, and then you get on the bus, leave at 4. You go play your game or whatever, and you get back pretty late, and then you realize, oh man, I have a test tomorrow that I completely forgot about, and you go and fail that test, and now you're failing the class, and then now you can't play. Okay, all because you were kind of hanging on the edge right there. Whereas opposed to that, if you had an 85 in the class and then you wouldn't still fail that test, you might have only had, you might have had an 80 or a 79 still, so you're still passing. Okay, so you have to give yourself some sort of buffer so that when things happen, it's not going to affect you. Okay, so that's why you don't want to be the person who just is doing the bare minimum. Like, I just got to scrape by, because if something unforeseen happens to you, it's going to be a problem, and that can affect your ability to get on the court. And listen, there's already so many things you have to worry about in terms of playing. Like, I got to worry about knowing the plays. I got to worry about running the right defense. I got to worry about making the right calls. I got to worry about hitting this shot, being ready for this, making sure my leg feels okay. You have all these things to worry about on the court. So don't let anything off the court add to that. Don't let there be anything that's going to stop you from getting to the court. Okay, and schoolwork is one of the things. So you don't want to be the person who's right on the edge, because one thing goes wrong for you, and all of a sudden, no more basketball for you. Okay, so that's why it's important to really give effort in the classroom. And going along with that, there's a mindset associated with it. And I see it all the time. If your mindset is, I don't like this, so I'm not going to try at it, that's going to translate to basketball. If your mindset is, listen, I don't like school, so I'm not going to try. Not going to try at it. That you're saying, I don't like doing this, so I'm not going to try. Now, how about when we get to practice and your coach makes you guys do a box out drill and you hate boxing out? Now, all of a sudden, is your mindset, does that allow you to say, oh, you know what, I don't like boxing out, so I'm not going to try? Right? That translates. If your coach puts you at a position you don't want to play, and you say, I don't like this position, so I'm not going to try. That's something that I see with a lot of players who might struggle with their grades. As soon as they're asked to do something on the court that they don't like, they revert back to, oh, I don't like doing this, so I'm not going to try. I don't care about this, so I'm not going to try. Okay? Don't be that. Don't allow yourself to develop that mindset or that habit of going to that, of being like, you know what, who cares? I don't want to do it, so I'm not going to try to do it. That will translate to the basketball court in some sort of way. Okay? I promise you it will. And, you talk about the difference between, if you watch the NBA playoffs right now, the difference between winning and losing a game right now, there are a lot of really, really close games. If you watch this Miami Boston series, there's a lot of really, really small things that happen throughout that fourth quarter that cause either a win or a loss right there. Okay, those little details that you really have to pay attention to, you really have to care about. If you aren't able to worry about the entire picture, right? If you're only focused on one area, for example, right? The Celtics, game 1, game 2, had big leads, especially game 1, had a 12-point lead in the fourth quarter. Game 2 had a lead in the fourth quarter, but they weren't able to get a stop on defense, right? Their offense was okay, but getting stops was their issue. So all that to say, one side of the ball, you can't just be focused on that. You got to be able to take care of both of them. Okay? In the same way right here, if all you care about is basketball and you don't take care of school, that mindset of not worrying about the entire picture, that translates to other areas for you. Okay? Might not be as cut and dry as you care about offense and not about defense, but it could be as it could be something like, I'm going to try in this drill where my coach lets me shoot, but as soon as I go to this drill, we're not shooting anymore and I don't get to do what I want to do. Now my effort, my intensity slacks off a little bit. Okay, so you develop that by doing things you might not like to do and giving your best effort at those things. Okay, so don't be the person who first of all, don't be the person who's hanging on the edge because one thing goes wrong and it's gonna be over for you. Okay, and on top of that, give your effort in class. All right, be the best you can be at it. And that standard you hold yourself to is what you're also going to hold yourself to on the basketball floor, and you're going to be a lot more successful. And ultimately, if you have a group full of guys on a team, you'll win more games, and it's going to be a lot more fun. Okay, so that's what you want to be able to do, and that's why school is the priority over basketball. Okay, because again, without school, there is no basketball. But also, if you slack off in school, chances are that's going to affect you as well. Okay, so again, don't be the player who says, who has your coach saying, oh, he's got a 2.5 GPA, he doesn't care. All right, there's not really much sympathy for guys who aren't doing well. Now, there's a difference between struggling and not understanding something and just straight up not caring enough to do something. Okay, if you struggle in your classes, but you're going to get help, you're going to see your teacher when you can after school. You tell your coach, hey, I'm struggling with this. Like, if people understand that you're still giving effort, then that's way different than just having a kid who just doesn't care. Okay, you would much rather be that first person who, maybe let's say you're in your English class, you're struggling, you're not good at writing essays, so you go talk to your English teacher and she gives you some tips, and that's what you do, instead of saying, oh, you know what, who cares, right? You're willing to go and get help for something. Okay, that's an important thing as well. Now, you can't just be the kid who goes to your teacher and says, hey, I need some help with this, and then they help you, they give you advice, give you tips, tell you what to do, and then you just don't do it. Right, you just go back and you write the same exact essay next time, because then that shows you really don't care. You're just trying to save face by acting like you do. Okay, so again, don't be that person who there has to be a question mark. You have enough things to worry about on the court. Take care of those other things and hold yourself to a high standard. Okay, that's very, very important. So, kind of going along with all this stuff, I wanted to jump into a little bit of some time management stuff as well, and just kind of some overall strategies you can use in order to balance school and basketball, because I understand it can be difficult. One thing that I told Aaron in this question, in my response to him, was, in terms of finding time to get your stuff done. So he was saying that, he would like to be able to do his workouts after school, but he's just so booked with all the work he has to do that it's hard for him to be able to do that. So what I told him is, like, listen, like, when I was in high school, I was always trying to find times in different classes that I can do homework. I might have a math class where I can do English homework at the same time, right? I might be able to do that. Now, I'm not saying don't pay attention in class and do your homework, but I'm saying if you have an opportunity to do that, here's the thing. I didn't let my grades slip, though. Like, I still had an A in math, okay? But I also was able to, at the same time, take care of some other homework that I had to do, so I didn't have to do it later, okay? That's just finding time to do things when you can. But you can't let that be at the cost of the actual class that you're in. That's all I'm saying with that. And I understand for some people that's just not possible. You might not be able to do that. You might not have a class where that's possible to do, and that's understandable. But start to think of times during the day that could be during lunch. Like, are you able to do some homework during lunch every day? If you're riding the bus, for example, if you have an away game, right, and you've got an hour and a half bus ride, can you get your homework done on that bus ride? Right? Can you put your headphones in while everyone else is doing whatever they're doing and study for your test the next day? Okay? There are lots of times during the day where you can get things done, but it really is all about you being able to go and take advantage and capitalize on those things. Okay? So start looking for times where you can start to get stuff done, even if it's just a piece of something. Even if you're just able to get a few questions answered or a few problems solved, whatever it might be. That's what I told him. That can just help you to free up a little bit of more time with all the stuff that you're doing. So, that's kind of one thing to consider. But then there's also things that we can do that will kind of add to that. So, the first thing is you want to make sure you're organized with everything. Okay. So what I recommend is, like, have a notebook or have like a planner or something where you can write down all things you have to do. Okay. For school. English, I have to write this paper. Math, I have to answer these questions in the textbook. History, I have to write this. Biology, I have to do this, whatever it might be, okay? Write down all things you have to do so that you know what is on your plate to do, okay? You know what you have to get done. That way, it's a lot easier than just trying to remember everything, and you got so many things floating around in your mind that you forget something, and all of a sudden, boom, you're already teetering on the edge. Now you're ineligible to play, all those things. You don't want to be in that category, okay? Take care of this stuff now. Kind of going back to the original point, you especially want to be able to focus on getting really good grades when you're not in season, okay? Because when the season comes and all of a sudden you're way more tired every day, you got practice and games every single day, you just have less time to do things, it's very possible that stuff slips through. It's possible. No one's perfect, okay? But if you've built up that good buffer where you had all good grades before, if you miss a couple things, you're going to be okay. But if you don't if you don't plant those seeds early, you don't do the work early, then that's going to be a problem. Okay, that's going to be a problem. So again, very, very important that you have all of your stuff planned out. You know what to do, you know when it's due, and all that stuff. And again, that kind of goes to time management. Time management is such a crucial step, a crucial part of all of this, because man, if you're not able to allocate your time properly, it's just going to be a problem. So, something that I'm sure a lot of you guys do is like, you get up at 6 to go to school, get to school, get out at 3, you get home and you take a nap, you take a nap till 5:30, you get up, eat dinner, that by that time it's 6:30, then you go to the gym at 7, you're there till 9, you get home at 9:30, take a shower. Now it's 10 o'clock, and now you have an hour and a half of homework to do. So you do that, then that's over. You watch TV for half an hour, and then, you eat a little bit of food, and all of a sudden it's 12:30, and, you got to get up at 6 the next day. Now you're at 5.5 hours again. So again, that goes back to time management, okay? What I'd recommend is instead of taking that nap after school, get out of school, get home, get your homework done, then eat dinner, then go play basketball. You're home at 9, take that shower at 9:30. Now all of a sudden it's 9:30 and you have nothing else to do. You can go to bed right there at 10, and there's 8 hours for you to get up at 6 the next day. Okay, so all that comes back to just managing your time well. Be able to plan out not just your schoolwork, but say, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. Okay, when I get home, I'm going to get my homework done, and then after that, I'm going to do this, and then that, and then this, and I'm going to go to bed now. Okay, so you're going to have everything planned out for yourself, and it's going to be much, much easier for you if you're able to stay organized and manage your time well. Okay, and that kind of goes back to a bigger point, which is plan out your weeks. Okay, so let's say it's Monday, right, and you have a paper that's due on Thursday, but you know that you have a workout on Tuesday and Wednesday, and you're going to be really, really busy with that stuff, okay, after school. So you might have to write that paper on Monday. But if you don't know that if you didn't write it down, you don't recognize that it's due then, you might wait till Wednesday, and all of a sudden it's 9 o'clock at night. You got to be like, oh, man, I have an hour of homework, and I got to write this paper. That's due tomorrow. Whereas if you would have just taken 30 minutes on Monday and gotten most of it done, now you have way less to do on Tuesday and Wednesday, okay? That comes from planning out your week. If you know you have a big test on Friday, but Thursday is a real busy day, maybe Thursday you guys have an away game, you might have to say, oh, I'm going to have to start my studying on Wednesday so that I can be ready Thursday, and then Friday, I'm all good to take the test, okay? You want to be able to plan out your time. And again, being able to use that time traveling, so, on that away game or, going to school on the bus in the morning, that was what I always used to do. When I was, my first couple of years of high school, when I was, on the bus rides to or from school, that was a great time where I've got, 20, 25 minutes to get work done, as opposed to just sitting there and waiting to get home or to get to school. Instead of doing that, you have the opportunity right there to get some homework done, okay? Get some studying done. So take advantage of those little times that you have, and you're going to find that if you do that, it starts to compound. All of a sudden, you have way more free time that's going to start to open up for you, okay? And, another thing I'll say is kind of relating, again, to in-season, is you don't want to get behind with what the stuff that you're doing. Okay, so if you have a game coming up, you have an away game, and you're gonna miss a class for it, go to your teacher and say, hey, let's say it's Monday, right? You're gonna miss the game you got a game on Thursday. Say, hey, I'm gonna miss class on Thursday because we have a game. Now maybe your teacher can say, okay, here you go. Here's the worksheet that we're gonna do that's gonna be due on Friday. Now you can get that done and have it in for Friday. And now you don't have to worry about making that up. So now you don't have to worry about, oh man, now I missed another class, so I got to take a test on Monday and do that paper and do the additional homework that was due. And all of a sudden you're behind on everything, and that's gonna mess up your whole schedule. If you're able to do your work early and plan things out and give your teachers a heads up, really what it comes down to is you guys have to be responsible for yourself. Okay, it's not your teacher's responsibility to get you caught up on things. It's not your coach's responsibility to make sure you're doing your work. It's not your parents' responsibility for doing anything. It's your responsibility to make sure that you are getting everything done, that you are putting yourself in the best position to have your free time. Okay, that's not on anybody else. If you are doing poorly, it's probably because you're doing something wrong. You're either not managing your time well, you're not planning things out, you don't know what's going on, you don't go and get help if you need it. Okay, you need to start taking responsibility for those things for yourself, or else you're going to struggle. Okay, and that goes high school and beyond. Okay, you can't just rely on other people to do things for you. You've got to be able to plan things and get things done. That's really what it's all about. So take advantage and get your work done early. Communicate with your teachers, and it's going to be way easier for you. Okay, and another thing you can do is taking advantage of your study halls, your free periods, your lunches, times where you don't have to be focused on a certain class, but you're still in school. When I was younger, I mean, everyone would have their study halls and everyone would be in the back playing computer games or whatever. And, that's all well and good if you don't have any homework. But if you're saying like, oh, I want to go get my work, I want to go work out after school, but I have too much homework, but I'm also doing, I'm also wasting time during study halls, reevaluate that. Okay. Make the most of your time that you have available to you. And the last thing I'll say is again, like I said, if it's really that you just struggle with something, you don't understand something it's a class that's difficult for you, go ask for help. Because here's the thing, teachers are going to be a lot more lenient with you if they know that you're really trying. Okay, if they think, oh, he's getting bad grades because he's not trying, he's not doing his work, right? If you just don't do your work, then like no one feels bad for you. No one cares. Oh, I had a away game. I was up late. No one cares. You should have got it done earlier. You got to find time to do it. There's no excuses for not doing it. Okay. Where, if your teacher knows, hey, he communicated with me, maybe he wasn't sure about this topic. You went in and got extra help. And then you went and made the necessary adjustments to whatever your work was. Now that teacher is going to be a lot more lenient with you in terms of your grading, in terms of your all the stuff that you're doing. But you have to communicate with your teachers about that stuff. Okay. So when it comes to managing school and basketball, it really comes back to being responsible for yourself. That's really what it comes back to. Okay. It's not anybody else's responsibility to remind you to do things or to have you get things done. You've got to be able to step up and do those things yourself. And again, you want to try your best in the classroom and do the best you can, because that mindset or lack of mindset translates to the court as well. Okay, and again, if you want to win, you have to be able to take care of all those details, the whole encompass picture. Okay, like that coach said, if you have a 2.5 GPA, you don't care about basketball. You don't, because you wouldn't let anything get in the way of you potentially being your best. That's really what it comes down to. So. And, ultimately, the last thing I'll say, leave you guys with is just, the demands for your time, it's never going to end. Like, there's always going to be something else to do, right? There's always going to be more work to do. But if you're able to plan things out and you know what's to be done, you're going to find that you're way more in control of your time, And it's going to be way, way easier for you if you know, okay, I have this planned out and I'm going to get this done then. And that way everything's organized. You're not going to be missing anything. And you're going to find it really, really easy eventually to just kind of naturally be able to balance everything. And it's going to be easy for you. Okay. So again, get your sleep. Make sure you're doing that. Time management, plan things out, and communicate with your teachers and your coaches about things that you might be struggling with or whatever the case may be. Okay. So that's all I have today. If you guys have any additional questions on this, make sure you let me know. Again, great question. Shout out to Aaron for that. Like I always say, guys, you have questions for me, DM me on Instagram at Vision Driven Basketball, and a lot of times my podcast episodes are going to come from those. Real quick before I let you guys go, if you guys have any suggestions or any requests for people that you would want me to have guests on the podcast, let me know, because I'm definitely looking to do that. But I want to know who you guys think would be a good fit, who you guys want to hear from, or if you guys have any specific people and maybe topics you want us to cover, whatever that might be, let me know, and that's something that I'll look to do. So definitely look to do that at some point in the future, but I want to know what would be the best for you guys, what you guys really are desiring with that. So all that being said, I appreciate every single one of you guys who listened this far. Again, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, watching on YouTube. Thank you, all of you guys. And again, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think in terms of guests, questions, all those things. And if you don't have a question for me, still give me a follow on Instagram. I'm posting every week, usually multiple times. So go ahead and check that out. Always posting on my stories, so you're always going to see what's up. And that's it, guys. Peace.